The sun began to rise over the small town of Willow Creek, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink. The birds sang their morning songs, and the fresh morning air carried with it the promise of a new day. It was one of those days when everything seemed possible, as if the universe itself conspired to bring hope and renewal. In the Johnson household, the family was getting ready for another day of hard work. Thomas Johnson, a man of average height with calloused hands, was putting on his boots while looking at his wife, Clara, who was preparing breakfast in the kitchen. They exchanged a smile, one of those smiles that only people who have spent decades together can share. It was a smile that spoke of love, struggle, and dreams yet to be fulfilled. "Don't forget to take your lunch, Tom," said Clara, handing him a wicker basket covered with a checkered cloth. "You know I don't like it when you skip meals." Thomas took the basket and kissed Clara on the forehead. "Yes, ma'am, and thank you for the coffee. It smells better than ever." Meanwhile, in the room next door, their eldest son, Samuel, was finishing tying the laces on his boots. At 18, Samuel was the perfect blend of his parents. He had his father's strength and determination, and his mother's sensitivity and intelligence. He looked out the window, watching the sun now lighting up the cornfields that stretched as far as the eye could see. "Sam, are you ready?" Thomas called from the hallway. "We've got a lot of work ahead of us today." "I'm coming, Dad," Samuel replied, giving one last glance at his reflection in the mirror. He knew this would be an important day, not just because of the upcoming harvest, but also because it was the day he would finally talk to his father about his plans for the future. As they left the house, the Johnson family was greeted by the serene beauty of Willow Creek. The green fields, the clean air, and the sense of community that only a small town could offer. It was a place where everyone knew each other, where doors weren't locked at night, and where dreams could still be cultivated like the crops that fed the town. As they walked toward the fields, Thomas placed a hand on Samuel's shoulder. "Son, today is a big day. I feel like good things are coming." Samuel smiled, feeling a mix of nervousness and excitement. "Me too, Dad. I feel it too." And so, under the open sky full of promise, the Johnson family began their day, unaware that it would mark the beginning of a journey that would change their lives forever. Dreams and expectations. The path to the fields was familiar, but today it felt different for Samuel. Every step he took seemed to echo with the importance of what he was about to do. He took a deep breath, inhaling the scent of damp earth and ripe corn. It was a smell he loved, a smell that meant safety and home. But today it also meant something else. Change. "Dad, there's something I wanted to talk to you about," Samuel began, his voice slightly shaky. He looked at his father, who walked beside him with firm, confident strides. Thomas looked at Samuel with an encouraging smile. "Of course, son. You know you can always talk to me. What's on your mind?" Samuel hesitated for a moment, trying to find the right words. "I've been thinking a lot about the future, about what I want to do with my life." Thomas stopped walking and turned to face Samuel, crossing his arms. "That sounds serious. Tell me more about it." "Well, I love the farm, Dad. I really do. But I also have dreams. Dreams that go beyond these fields," Samuel said, gesturing toward the cornfields around them. Thomas remained silent for a moment, his face unreadable. "What kind of dreams, son?" "I want to study, Dad. I want to go to university. I want to learn about agriculture, but also about business. I want to bring new ideas to the farm, make it bigger and better. But to do that, I need to leave here for a while," Samuel explained, feeling the weight of his words. Thomas looked out toward the horizon, where the sun was now fully above them, illuminating everything with golden light. "I always knew you were special, Sam. You have a brilliant mind and a brave heart. But this farm is our legacy. It's all we have." "I know, Dad, and that's why I want to do this. To make sure the farm isn't just our legacy, but also our future. A better future," Samuel argued, his voice gaining confidence. Thomas placed a hand on Samuel's shoulder again, looking him in the eyes. "I need to think about this, son. It's not an easy decision, but I admire your courage and your vision. Let's talk more about this tonight, at home." Samuel felt a wave of relief. He knew his father was a man of reason, but also of tradition, and tradition was something hard to change. "Thank you, Dad. That means a lot to me." And so, father and son continued on their way to the fields, each lost in their own thoughts. Samuel felt a mix of hope and anxiety. He knew this conversation was only the beginning, but it was a beginning, and sometimes a beginning was all you needed. Conversations at the dinner table. The day had been long and productive in the fields, but Samuel's mind was elsewhere as he worked. He could hardly wait to get home and continue the conversation with his father. He knew his mother, Clara, would also have something to say about his plans. She always had a way of seeing things from a different perspective, and Samuel valued her opinion greatly. As the sun began to set, the Johnson family gathered around the dinner table, as they always did. The smell of Clara's stew filled the house, bringing a sense of comfort and familiarity. It was one of those moments when Samuel felt that no matter what happened, everything would be all right. "So, your father told me about your conversation today," Clara began, serving a generous portion of stew onto Samuel's plate. "About your plans for the future." Samuel looked at his father, surprised. He hadn't expected Thomas to mention it so soon. "Yes, Mom. I want to go to university. I want to learn more so I can help the farm grow." Clara smiled, but her eyes were filled with concern. "I've always known you were ambitious, Sam, and I admire that about you. But this farm is our home. It's where our family has grown and thrived." "I know, Mom, and that's why I want to do this, to make sure the farm continues to thrive, so we can grow and adapt to the new times," Samuel explained, trying to keep the emotion out of his voice. Clara looked at Thomas, who was sitting quietly, listening intently. "And what do you think about this, Tom?" Thomas sighed, putting his fork down on the table. "I think Samuel has a point. Things are changing, and we need to change with them. But I'm also afraid of what this might mean for our family." Samuel felt a lump in his throat. He knew it wouldn't be easy, but hearing his parents' concerns made it all too real. "I understand, Dad, and I don't want to leave you behind. But I need to do this, for me and for our family." Clara reached out and placed her hand over Samuel's. "We support you, son. We always will. But that doesn't mean we're not scared. We just want what's best for you." Samuel felt a wave of gratitude. He knew his parents would always support him, no matter what. "Thank you, Mom. Thank you, Dad. I promise I won't let you down." And so, the Johnson family finished their dinner in silence, each lost in their own thoughts and feelings. They knew that changes were coming, and while it brought uncertainty, it also brought hope. Hope for a better future, for dreams realized, and for a family that would remain united, no matter what. The next morning, Samuel woke up with a sense of determination. He knew that the path ahead wouldn't be easy, but he was ready to face the challenges. As he dressed and prepared for another day in the fields, he couldn't help but think about the conversation he had with his parents the night before. Their support meant the world to him, but he also sensed their underlying fears and doubts. Samuel found his mother in the kitchen, already busy preparing breakfast. The aroma of freshly brewed coffee filled the air, and the sight of his mother humming softly to herself brought a sense of calm to Samuel's restless mind. "Good morning, Mom," Samuel said, giving her a gentle hug. "Good morning, sweetheart," Clara replied, her eyes reflecting a mix of pride and concern. "Did you sleep well?" "As well as I could, I guess," Samuel admitted. "I kept thinking about everything we talked about last night." Clara nodded, turning to face him fully. "Change is never easy, Sam, but it's a part of life. Your father and I know that. We just want to make sure you're prepared for what lies ahead." Samuel took a deep breath. "I know, Mom, and I am prepared. I've thought about this for a long time. I want to make a difference, not just for myself, but for our family and our farm." Clara reached out and cupped his face in her hands, her touch warm and comforting. "We believe in you, Sam. We always have, and we always will. Just remember, no matter where life takes you, this will always be your home, and we will always be here for you." Samuel felt a lump form in his throat. He knew how lucky he was to have such supportive parents. "Thank you, Mom. That means everything to me." As they sat down to eat breakfast together, Samuel couldn't shake the feeling of anticipation that coursed through him. He knew that the road ahead would be filled with challenges, but he also knew that he had the love and support of his family to guide him. After breakfast, Samuel headed out to the fields, where his father was already hard at work. The sight of Thomas, diligently tending to the crops, filled Samuel with a sense of pride and determination. He wanted to carry on his father's legacy, but he also wanted to bring new ideas and innovations to the farm. "Morning, Dad," Samuel said, joining his father in the fields. "Morning, Sam," Thomas replied, wiping the sweat from his brow. "Ready for another day of hard work?" "Always," Samuel said with a smile. "But I was also thinking about what we talked about last night. I want to make sure we're all on the same page." Thomas nodded, his expression serious. "I've been thinking about it too, Sam, and I want you to know that I support you. I may have my doubts and fears, but I believe in you, and I know that you have the potential to do great things." Samuel felt a surge of gratitude and love for his father. "Thank you, Dad. That means more to me than you know." As they worked side by side, Samuel couldn't help but feel a sense of excitement for the future. He knew that the journey ahead would be filled with ups and downs, but he also knew that he had the strength and support of his family to guide him through it all. The weeks that followed were a whirlwind of activity for the Johnson family. Samuel spent his days working diligently in the fields alongside his father, but his evenings were filled with research and planning for his future. He pored over university brochures and financial aid forms, determined to make his dreams a reality. One evening, as Samuel sat at the kitchen table with a stack of papers spread out before him, Clara walked in with a cup of tea. She placed it gently beside him, her eyes scanning the array of documents. "University applications?" Clara asked, her voice soft but curious. Samuel looked up, a hint of a smile on his face. "Yes, Mom. I've been looking into different programs. There's one in agricultural science that seems perfect. It covers not just farming techniques, but also business management. I think it could really help us modernize the farm." Clara sat down beside him, her presence a comforting warmth. "It sounds like you've been giving this a lot of thought, Sam. I'm proud of you." Samuel sighed, rubbing his temples. "It's just a lot to take in, you know. There are so many details to consider. Tuition, housing, the distance from home. But I know it's all worth it." Clara placed a reassuring hand on his shoulder. "Every big dream comes with its challenges, Sam. But remember, you don't have to face them alone. We're here for you, every step of the way." Samuel felt a surge of gratitude. He knew how fortunate he was to have such unwavering support. "Thanks, Mom. That really means a lot." Meanwhile, Thomas had been quietly observing Samuel's determination. One afternoon, as they took a break from their work in the fields, Thomas handed Samuel an envelope. It was worn at the edges, the paper inside slightly yellowed with age. Samuel opened it carefully and found a collection of old photographs and documents. There were pictures of his father as a young man, standing proudly in front of the farm. There were also handwritten notes and letters, detailing the farm's history and the dreams Thomas had once held for it. "I found these while I was going through some old boxes," Thomas explained. "I thought you might like to see where it all began. This farm has been in our family for generations, and it's seen its share of changes and challenges. But through it all, we've always found a way to keep moving forward." Samuel looked through the photographs, feeling a deep connection to his family's legacy. "Thank you, Dad. This means more than I can say." Thomas smiled, a glint of pride in his eyes. "I want you to know that I believe in you, Sam, and I believe in the dreams you have for this farm. It's time for new seeds to be planted, and I have a feeling you're going to help them grow into something truly remarkable." As the sun set over the fields, casting a golden glow over the land, Samuel felt a renewed sense of purpose. He knew that the journey ahead would be filled with challenges, but he also knew that he had the love and support of his family to guide him, and with that, he was ready to take the next step, whatever it may be. As the days turned into weeks, Samuel's excitement grew. He had sent off his university applications and was now waiting for responses. Each day brought a mix of anticipation and anxiety, but Samuel remained focused on his work in the fields and his dreams for the future. One afternoon, as Samuel and Thomas worked side by side, Thomas broke the silence. "You know, Sam, I've been thinking a lot about what you said, about going to university and bringing new ideas to the farm. And I think it's a great plan." Samuel looked up, surprised by his father's words. "Really, Dad? You think so?" Thomas nodded, a smile spreading across his face. "Yes, I do. I see how hard you've been working, not just in the fields, but on your future. It reminds me of myself when I was your age, full of dreams and determination." Samuel felt a warmth spread through him. Hearing his father's approval meant everything to him. "Thank you, Dad. That really means a lot coming from you." Thomas placed a hand on Samuel's shoulder. "I want you to know that no matter what happens, I'm proud of you, and I believe in you. You have the potential to do great things, Sam. Not just for this farm, but for yourself." Samuel's eyes welled up with tears. He had always looked up to his father, and knowing that he had his support gave him the strength to face whatever challenges lay ahead. A few days later, as Samuel was checking the mail, he found a letter from one of the universities he had applied to. His hands trembled slightly as he opened it, his heart pounding in his chest. As he read the words on the page, a smile spread across his face. He had been accepted. Samuel rushed into the house, the letter clutched tightly in his hand. "Mom! Dad! I got in! I got accepted into the university!" Clara and Thomas both looked up, their faces breaking into wide smiles as they saw the excitement in Samuel's eyes. Clara rushed over and hugged him tightly. "Oh, Sam! I'm so proud of you!" Thomas walked over, his eyes glistening with pride. "I knew you could do it, son. I always believed in you." As they stood there, in the warmth of their home, Samuel felt a sense of accomplishment and gratitude. He knew that this was just the beginning of his journey, and that there would be many challenges ahead. But with the love and support of his family, he was ready to face them all. That evening, as they sat around the dinner table, the atmosphere was filled with joy and excitement. They talked about the future, about the changes that were coming, and about the dreams they all shared. It was a moment of unity and hope, a reminder of the strength and love that bound them together. As Samuel looked around the table, at the faces of his parents, he felt a deep sense of gratitude. He knew that no matter where life took him, he would always have their support and love. And with that, he was ready to take the next step in his journey, whatever it may be. With the acceptance letter in hand, Samuel's life seemed to shift into a higher gear. There was a sense of urgency in the air as the family began preparing for his departure. Clara spent her days ensuring Samuel had everything he needed, from warm clothes to his favorite snacks, while Thomas worked tirelessly to manage the farm in anticipation of Samuel's absence. One evening, as Samuel was packing his bags, Clara entered his room with a small wooden box. It was intricately carved, with the initials S.J. etched into the lid. "I made this for you," Clara said, her voice soft with emotion. "It's not much, but I thought you could use it to keep your important things in. Letters, memories, whatever you want." Samuel took the box, running his fingers over the smooth wood. "It's beautiful, Mom. Thank you." Clara smiled, her eyes reflecting a mix of pride and sadness. "You've always been special, Sam, and I know you're going to do great things. Just remember, no matter where you go, you'll always have a home here." Samuel felt a lump form in his throat. He knew how much his mother would miss him, and it made the reality of leaving all the more poignant. Meanwhile, Thomas had been spending extra time with Samuel in the fields, teaching him the intricacies of managing the farm. They talked about crops, weather patterns, and the business side of farming. Samuel soaked up every bit of knowledge, knowing that it would be crucial for his future plans. One afternoon, as they took a break under the shade of an old oak tree, Thomas turned to Samuel. "You know, Sam, this farm has been in our family for generations, and it's seen its share of ups and downs, but through it all, we've always found a way to keep going, and I know you'll do the same." Samuel looked at his father, feeling a deep sense of gratitude. "Thank you, Dad, for everything. I couldn't have done this without you." Thomas placed a hand on Samuel's shoulder. "You're going to do great things, Sam. I believe in you, and I know that you'll make us proud." As the day of departure drew nearer, Samuel felt a mix of excitement and trepidation. He knew that this was a big step, not just for him, but for his entire family. But he also knew that he had their love and support, and that gave him the strength to face whatever lay ahead. The night before Samuel was set to leave, the family gathered around the dinner table for a final meal together. The atmosphere was bittersweet, filled with a mix of joy and sadness. They talked about the future, about the changes that were coming, and about the dreams they all shared. As Samuel looked around the table, at the faces of his parents, he felt a deep sense of gratitude. He knew that no matter where life took him, he would always have their support and love. And with that, he was ready to take the next step in his journey, whatever it may be. The morning of Samuel's departure arrived with a soft golden light that bathed Willow Creek in a warm glow. The house was quiet, the usual morning bustle replaced by a solemn stillness. Samuel had finished packing the night before, his belongings neatly arranged in a worn leather suitcase that had once belonged to his grandfather. Clara was already up, preparing a hearty breakfast. The scent of freshly baked bread and brewed coffee filled the house, mingling with the bittersweet emotions that hung in the air. Samuel walked into the kitchen, his suitcase in hand, and found his mother standing by the window, looking out at the fields that stretched beyond their home. "Morning, Mom," Samuel said softly, placing his suitcase by the door. Clara turned to him, her eyes glistening with unshed tears. "Good morning, Sam. Did you sleep well?" "Not really," Samuel admitted, offering her a small smile. "I kept thinking about everything that's about to change." Clara nodded, her voice barely above a whisper. "Change is never easy, but it's a part of life, and you're ready for this, Sam. We both know that." Samuel felt a lump rise in his throat. He walked over to his mother and wrapped her in a tight hug. "Thank you, Mom, for everything. I couldn't have done this without you and Dad." Clara hugged him back, her grip strong and reassuring. "You'll always have our support no matter where you go or what you do. Remember that." Thomas walked into the kitchen, his boots dusty from the morning's work. He looked at Samuel, pride and emotion flickering in his eyes. "Ready to go, son?" Samuel nodded, picking up his suitcase. "As ready as I'll ever be." The drive to the train station was quiet, each lost in their own thoughts. The familiar landscapes of Willow Creek passed by the windows, each sight a memory etched into Samuel's heart. When they arrived at the station, Thomas parked the truck and turned to Samuel. "You know, Sam, this farm has been our life, our legacy, but it's also a part of you no matter where you go, and I know you'll carry that with you, always." Samuel felt tears prick at his eyes. "I will, Dad. I promise." Clara hugged Samuel tightly one last time. "Write to us, okay? Let us know how you're doing. And remember, you can always come home." Samuel nodded, his voice thick with emotion. "I will, and thank you both for everything." As the train pulled into the station, Samuel took a deep breath. He turned to his parents, giving them one last wave before boarding. As he found his seat and looked out the window, he saw his parents standing together, their hands raised in farewell. He waved back, his heart full of love and gratitude. As the train pulled away, Samuel watched his parents grow smaller in the distance, the fields of Willow Creek stretching out behind them. He knew that this was the beginning of a new chapter in his life, one filled with challenges and opportunities. But he also knew that he carried the love and support of his family with him, and that would always be his guiding light. As the train chugged along, Samuel watched the landscape transform from the familiar fields of Willow Creek to rolling hills and bustling towns he had never seen before. The rhythm of the train was soothing, a steady beat that matched the pulse of his excitement and nerves. Samuel shared the train car with a mix of people, students like himself heading to universities, businessmen with briefcases, and families traveling together. He found a seat by the window, which offered him a view of the passing scenery and a bit of solitude to gather his thoughts. A young woman about his age sat down next to him. She had a bright smile and carried a book in her hand. "Hi, I'm Emma," she said, extending her hand. "Are you heading to the university too?" Samuel shook her hand, feeling a bit of his nervousness ease. "Yes, I am. I'm Samuel." "Nice to meet you, Samuel. First time traveling alone?" Emma asked, her eyes friendly and curious. Samuel nodded. "Is it that obvious?" Emma laughed softly. "A little, but don't worry. I think everyone feels that way at first. I'm heading to the same university. Maybe we can help each other figure things out." Samuel felt a sense of relief wash over him. Making a friend so soon into his journey was a welcome surprise. "That would be great, thanks." As they talked, Samuel learned that Emma was from a small town not too far from his own. She had dreams of becoming a writer and was heading to the university to study literature. Her passion for books and stories was evident in the way she spoke, and Samuel found himself drawn into her enthusiasm. The train ride passed more quickly than Samuel had anticipated. Before he knew it, the university town came into view. Buildings of various sizes and designs sprawled across the landscape, and the energy of the place was palpable even from a distance. As they disembarked, Emma turned to Samuel. "Well, here we are, ready to start this new adventure?" Samuel took a deep breath, feeling a surge of determination. "As ready as I'll ever be." They made their way through the bustling station, following signs that directed them toward the university campus. The streets were alive with activity, students hurrying to classes, vendors selling snacks and books, and the general hum of a town that thrived on the energy of its academic community. When they reached the campus, Samuel felt a rush of awe. The buildings were grand and imposing, yet inviting. Students milled about, some in groups chatting animatedly, others walking purposefully with books in hand. It was a world away from the quiet fields of Willow Creek, and Samuel felt a thrill of excitement at being a part of it. Emma nudged him gently. "Come on, let's find the registration office. We've got a lot to do before classes start." Samuel nodded, falling into step beside her. As they walked, he couldn't help but glance around, taking in the sights and sounds of his new surroundings. He knew that this was just the beginning, and that there would be challenges ahead. But he also knew that he was ready to face them, to learn and grow, and to make his family proud. With Emma by his side, Samuel felt a sense of camaraderie and friendship that eased his transition into this new chapter of his life. Together, they navigated the campus, finding their way to the registration office and beginning the process of settling into their new academic home. As the day wore on, Samuel found himself feeling more at ease. The initial nervousness he had felt on the train was replaced by a sense of purpose and excitement. He was here to learn, to grow, and to bring new ideas back to his family's farm. And with each step he took on the campus, he felt more certain that he was on the right path. By the end of the day, Samuel had his schedule in hand and a map of the campus. He and Emma had agreed to meet up the next day to explore more of the town and get acquainted with their new surroundings. As Samuel settled into his dorm room that evening, he looked out the window at the twilight sky. He thought of his parents back in Willow Creek and the love and support they had shown him. He knew that this journey was not just his own, but a continuation of the dreams and hopes they had for him. With a deep breath, Samuel turned back to his room, ready to unpack and prepare for the days ahead. He was here, at the threshold of a new adventure, and he was ready to embrace it with all his heart. The first few days at the university were a whirlwind of activity for Samuel. He attended orientation sessions, met with academic advisors, and began to familiarize himself with the campus layout. Each day brought new faces and experiences, and Samuel found himself both excited and overwhelmed by the sheer volume of information and opportunities. Emma proved to be an invaluable friend during this time. She introduced Samuel to other students in their dormitory, and together they explored the campus and the surrounding town. They discovered cozy cafes tucked away on side streets, bustling bookshops filled with both new releases and dusty classics, and quiet parks where they could sit and talk for hours. One evening, as Samuel and Emma walked back to their dormitory after a long day of classes and exploration, Emma turned to him with a thoughtful expression. "You know, Samuel, I've been thinking. You mentioned you wanted to study agricultural science to help modernize your family's farm, right?" Samuel nodded, curious about where Emma was going with this. "Yes, That's the plan. Emma's eyes lit up with excitement. Well, I was talking to a friend who's studying environmental science, and she mentioned a sustainable farming workshop happening next weekend. It's open to all students, and I thought it might be something you'd be interested in. Samuel felt a surge of enthusiasm at the idea. That sounds amazing, Emma. Thank you for thinking of me. Emma smiled, clearly pleased with his reaction. I thought it might be right up your alley. Plus, it could be a great way to meet people who share your interests. The following weekend, Samuel attended the Sustainable Farming Workshop. It was an eye-opening experience, filled with discussions on innovative farming techniques, environmental conservation, and the future of agriculture. Samuel found himself engrossed in the topics, taking copious notes and engaging in lively discussions with his peers. As the workshop progressed, Samuel realized that he had found his niche. The ideas and concepts presented aligned perfectly with his goals for his family's farm. He felt a renewed sense of purpose and excitement for his studies. Back at the dormitory, Samuel shared his experiences with Emma, who listened intently. It sounds like you had an incredible time, Samuel. I'm really glad you enjoyed it. Samuel nodded, a sense of gratitude washing over him. I did, and it's all thanks to you, Emma, for telling me about it and for being such a great friend. Emma waved off his thanks with a modest smile. We're in this together, remember? Friends help each other out. As the days turned into weeks, Samuel found himself settling into a comfortable routine. He balanced his coursework with exploring new interests and spending time with the friends he had made. The university was becoming a second home to him, a place where he could grow and learn in ways he had never imagined. One evening, as Samuel sat in his dorm room studying, he received a letter from his parents. The familiar handwriting on the envelope brought a smile to his face. He opened it carefully, savoring the connection to home. Dear Samuel, we hope this letter finds you well. We've been thinking of you often and are so proud of the journey you've embarked on. Your father and I are doing well, and the farm is thriving. We can't wait to hear all about your adventures and the new things you're learning. Remember, no matter where you are or what you're doing, you'll always have our love and support. We believe in you, Samuel, and we know you're going to do great things. With all our love, Mom and Dad Samuel felt a warmth spread through him as he read the letter. He knew that he was exactly where he was meant to be, pursuing his dreams with the unwavering support of his family behind him. With a deep breath, he turned back to his studies, ready to face whatever challenges and opportunities lay ahead. As the semester progressed, Samuel found himself thriving in his new environment. He had formed a close-knit group of friends, including Emma, who had become an integral part of his university experience. Together, they navigated the challenges of coursework, explored the town, and supported each other through the ups and downs of university life. Samuel's classes were both challenging and inspiring. He delved into agricultural science with a passion, absorbing knowledge about sustainable farming practices, soil management, and crop innovation. His professors were impressed by his dedication and enthusiasm, and Samuel found himself excelling in ways he had never imagined. One day, as Samuel was walking to class, he noticed a flyer on the bulletin board. It was an announcement for an internship program with a local agricultural research center. The program focused on sustainable farming and offered students hands-on experience in the field. Samuel felt a surge of excitement at the opportunity and decided to apply. Weeks later, Samuel received the news that he had been accepted into the internship program. He was thrilled at the prospect of gaining real-world experience and applying the knowledge he had acquired in his classes. He shared the news with Emma and his friends, who were all equally excited for him. The internship proved to be a transformative experience for Samuel. He worked alongside experienced researchers and farmers, learning about innovative techniques and technologies that could revolutionize farming practices. He spent his days in the fields, conducting experiments and analyzing data, all while gaining a deeper understanding of the agricultural industry. As the internship drew to a close, Samuel felt a sense of accomplishment and pride. He had not only gained valuable experience, but had also formed meaningful connections with professionals in the field. He knew that this experience would be instrumental in achieving his goals for his family's farm. Back at the university, Samuel continued to excel in his studies. He was invited to present his research findings at a regional agricultural conference, an opportunity that filled him with both excitement and nerves. The conference was a success, and Samuel's presentation was well received by his peers and professors. As the academic year came to an end, Samuel found himself reflecting on the journey that had brought him to this point. He had grown in ways he had never anticipated, both academically and personally. He had formed lasting friendships, gained invaluable experiences, and was now equipped with the knowledge and skills to bring his dreams to fruition. On his final day at the university, Samuel packed his belongings and prepared for the journey back to Willow Creek. He felt a mix of emotions, excitement to return home and share his experiences, but also a touch of sadness to leave behind the life he had built at the university. As he boarded the train, Samuel looked out the window at the bustling town that had become his second home. He thought of the friends he had made, the lessons he had learned, and the experiences that had shaped him. He knew that this was not an end, but a new beginning, a chapter in his life that had prepared him for the journey ahead. With a deep breath, Samuel settled into his seat, ready to embrace the next phase of his journey. He carried with him the love and support of his family, the knowledge and experiences he had gained, and the unwavering belief that he was destined for great things. As the train pulled away from the station, Samuel looked ahead, eager to return home and begin the next chapter of his life.